Hello, can you hear me? No. Testing.
Testes?
Testicles.
1, 2, 3.
2.
2, 1.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Light Table Podcast. I'm Steve.
I'm Corey.
We're going to talk about Star Wars today.
Woohoo! Yeah, just so the listeners have a reference point. We are not of the original generation of Star Wars. We were both born in 1980.
Yeah.
So we certainly grew up with Star Wars.
Well, everybody had the toys. They were everywhere.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And I saw the movies. Like, I was into it.
Right. But we have 40-year-old friends now that remember going to the movie.
Yeah. I remember going to Return of the Jedi. That was my first movie I ever saw in theaters.
That must have been 84?
It was 83.
83.
So I was 3 years old.
You remember
first movie I ever saw.
3 years old.
Yeah.
Really?
I remember my mom reading me Jabba the Hutt's lines.
No kidding.
You know, telling me Jabba was saying to Luke and shit.
Jiggy Woggy Gaga Han Solo.
And I'm like, keep reading it. Because I can't read, I'm 3. People, when I talk about how I love Star Wars, and then I say that to people, they're like, oh my god, well that's why. I'm like, that's not why. I loved Star Wars before I saw that movie. When I was like little. My Uncle Fred had reel-to-reel projectors. Yes. He had like 10 minutes of the movie with no sound. And we would sit in a dark room and watch it over and over. So, like, it was... I don't really remember that, but I remember that it happened, but I don't remember it.
I remember at one point when we were much younger, you tried to show me Star Wars. Like, on your projection screen TV, like, by projection, I don't mean high quality.
Yeah.
It was at the time. But back then, it was literally
a front projected
projection with multiple.
So it had a big mirror and lights showing on
3
it,
lights
up on the screen. It was cool.
It was
$50.
cool. In fact, honestly, yeah, retro-wise, if I had room in a corner in a big house, I'd put it in there because it looked cool. It was
broken. I had like stick matchbooks in it to get the screen to line up right. But it was $50 and I had a big screen TV in my room.
Oh yeah, it was awesome for us then and our ages, but. Point being is, I remember you trying to play that Star Wars or something on.
It would have to be a VHS.
Was
I only
it
had
VHS?
VHS then. I didn't have anything else.
Well, speaking of VHS, that kind of leads me down the other road. I recall like one of the very few VHSs I still own to this day in 2014. Now, not that I have a VCR, but the VHS I own is a trilogy release that George Lucas put out. If I had to guess, it was mid to late 90s, probably mid 90s. And the special feature, if you will, of the VHS was interviews with George Lucas pre-movie on each one. And this was before the re-adaptation.
Yeah, this was the re-release when they cleaned it up with THX sound and they did all the screen lights and made all the pictures look crisp. Yeah, that's the edition everybody wants.
Really?
That's what everybody wishes they could go buy on DVD.
Oh, okay. And I recall in his interviews, George Lucas specifically saying, these are as finished as they will be. I've topped them off and these are perfection. They will not be re-released. And then since there's been, probably 100, not 100, but a lot of versions.
The thing is that those haven't been re-released since then. Those definitive versions of that original thing, but he's kept that promise. I wish they would release them. I mean, I like the redo that they did to it. I like the added stuff. I mean, there's maybe some things I thought were unnecessary, but at the same time, they didn't hurt anything. They only made the movie a little bit longer. It wasn't a big deal. Like, I don't have any problem watching the re-edits.
No.
But it'd be cool to have the original, because I'd watch both. I'm a fan, you know?
The only major problem I had with the re-edit on the one that I can think of, probably the longest scene was, am I right, the longest scene re-edited in one of them was the Han Solo hopping over Jabba's tail. Is that the longest
and they redid that again, though.
Did they?
Yeah, I agree that I really didn't like that first one where they put Jabba looked horrible.
Yeah, it was really bad.
But they redid that scene and they redid Jabba.
Oh, okay.
He looks different.
Okay. Does he look like Jabba? I mean,
he still looks digitally animated.
Okay.
He looks close to what Jabba looked like in like episode 1.
Okay.
You know, kind of close to that. Kind of close to that.
That's better than
not the original one. That looked horrible.
Well, and then too, the fluid stepping over him, it didn't look right at all.
He still does step over him, but I think that they took it down a notch. It's a little different.
Yeah. And honestly, okay, it's an interesting scene. As a Star Wars lover, I get why it's important.
I think it's cool. It's almost like they put in a deleted scene, though. It feels out of place.
It really
I don't mind watching it, but it still feels like a deleted scene.
Yeah, like, exactly. It should be on a special features bonus at the end where you show 50 deleted scenes. It'd be all over that, but...
I don't have a problem with being there, though. It's 5 seconds, and I'm just like, whatever. It doesn't take anything away from the movie. It's not like they changed a scene. It's just there's an extra 20 seconds in the scene, or maybe it's a minute.
Well, and to me, it kind of didn't make sense because I always had the feeling prior to that scene that he was already running from Jabba. Like it didn't seem like now.
Well, that's because that's how they cut it,
right?
that's how they cut it originally. Was like that had already happened.
Yeah, and then they did put it in there, I guess. So yeah, it just felt kind of out of place in the sense.
But he's still, it's like Jabba. He was running from Jabba, and then Jabba shows up. And he's like, "Hey, man, I got you." And he's like, "I'll give you more money." A warning. And then he's like, "Okay, but you better pay up quick." Sure. And then he leaves, and he doesn't pay him. So I mean, it actually does tie into the plot.
It does. You're right. Yeah. Okay. And the other edits that I can recall were just little shots of mostly creatures in the background or something running on the floor, like okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like whatever.
If you really feel like you had to do it, I'll give you it.
If I want to nitpick, I can be like, oh, the Tatooine scene, I like that they expanded Tatooine, but it was a little too long and grandiose when they pulled in. It could have been simpler. Yeah. But still, like, you see more of the city. I'm alright with that.
I really like the enrichments of the blacks, like, later on when you start to see some definition.
Yeah, where they actually fixed the special effects they had done. They go in and they darken up the dark spots and, like, crispen everything up. Yeah.
The other thing, too, is obviously, like, I always think of Hoth, but this is true in all space scenes. Like, the window matting on some of the way it moves through the scene, like, it looked horrible. Like, there was no green screen, obviously. They were matting it in there at the time. I'm glad he fixed that. At least took away the hard, dark edging, and it looked like it fit, at least.
I actually really like how they updid the Bespin pull-in when the Millennium Falcon's coming into to see Lando and they're going through that city and stuff. I really like that. Or at the end of the first one when they go and blow up the Death Star and you see like additional shots of X-Wings flying and stuff. Like, I think that really enhances the movie.
It adds to it.
It really does. Yep. I think those are great scenes.
Well, it legitimizes something you've already known. It makes it better and it says, ooh, that's what I would have expected to be. Yeah, exactly.
They were limited by the original technology, so I can see how you'd be like, the space battles weren't as cool as they could be. Let's redo the space battles. I would be alright if they said, you know what? Let's redo the space battles digitally.
Yes.
Let's just screw the models. Let's rebuild the exact same thing, but paint everything.
Right. Let me clarify. I didn't have an issue with any fighting or space battles, really, in the original. What I had an issue with is whenever you had an interior cockpit shot looking out a window, and the window frame itself was like block black around it, and it like didn't line up at all. Like those shots out into space, all that stuff like looked like it clearly did not flow. But he changed that, and I thought that was a great ad because it made it that more realistic, and it made it perfect. Because some of those shots on Hoth, especially where he's in the fucking what is it? It's not. It's that what's that ship called? Geek.
What ship?
On Hoth when they're wrapping up the AT-ATs.
It's a speeder. I can't remember. ep1 speeder? No.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's the Hoth speeder.
Yeah, those specifically, I see a lot of shots in my mind anyway, especially on the white background where like he's flying around and like just looking out the cockpit, those like windows just look like
they fixed that.
Big time.
They fixed that.
That's what I'm saying is that's the best fix out of all of it that he did. A lot of that, but
at the end of the day, it's sort of like I'm a big fan, and I like the original, and I want the original cut, and I like the redo, and I'm like, redo it again.
Yeah,
fucking add more.
Yeah,
keep giving me more versions to buy. I love this shit. Market to me, like plus, I love it. Go and redigitize everything.
Speaking of adding stuff too,
take the Yoda puppet out and put a digital Yoda in. Like, do it. I don't care. But I want to see it.
That's okay to do a digital Yoda over it, but what about the controversy of putting Hayden Christensen in the old ones as the Ghost?
I could kind of go both ways on that.
I could see it, but I don't know. I mean, a lot of people had major flack over that. They did not like that choice.
I agree. No, it's totally a debated thing. in a way, I'm like, I liked it the old way, and it doesn't make sense because he didn't die like that. And you're like, yeah, but he didn't die like that either. He was all wrinkled and fucked up. Like, that's...
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's his projected... Yeah, but why would he project as this guy he's never been?
Exactly.
So, like...
When he go back to being
he'd go back to being who he was before he was Vader.
When
before
he was
put
good.
the mask on.
Yeah, when he was
So that kind of
Anakin.
makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It totally does.
Because it's just a visual representation of how he pictures himself. So it totally makes sense. I mean, nothing against the old way. It made sense when I hadn't seen the prequels and I saw that movie. It was great, but I don't have a problem with that.
Now the old way was... it was the guy that played Vader with the helmet off, but he looked good. He had the Jedi
Sebastian
robes.
Shaw.
Yeah.
Is who it was. And actually, I think it's not the guy who's in the costume.
It wasn't.
It's
That's
just a
right.
different guy.
They had a different guy. That's right. Yep. It was the actual guy that played Vader most of the time. The physical actor of Vader. When they had the helmet off, that was a different actor.
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure
it was.
But that guy was the guy who was the
Gotcha.
old guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
No, I totally think that's all right. But I think it opens you up to this idea of he could still be around as Force Ghost, and we still have Hayden Christensen, and he can come back, and he can be Anakin. He could come talk to Luke. Like that could.
That'd be awesome.
You know.
Could be awesome. Huh.
He could have his father counseling him and shit.
Fucking A, right?
You know, the Force ghosting it up.
Well, and Luke was strong with the Force. He was able to like see all the ghosts and shit, like big time. That was the whole point. Like he always saw them, and then at the end,
and I think you could take Ewan McGregor too and make him up and make him look kind of like Alec Guinness.
That's
close enough that you'd be like, yeah, I'm on board.
Out of all of them, that's the best fucking one ever that they casted. I honestly,
he kind of has the same shape face as him. Oh, they have a similar tone voice. It's a little different, but it's similar.
You can see how it might evolve into an older guy on Tatooine that way. Like, I get that. Yeah,
he played the part really well too.
God,
he must have studied like a motherfucker. He was that character.
He was
right away.
He was. Ewan McGregor's a great actor. He did a great job. The choices, whatever he chose to make and add to it, obviously have ended. We moved into the Disney realm. So now Disney owning all the rights to everything could change it however they want. They could put Anakin in there. They could put Hayden Christensen in wherever the fuck they want. What do you see in the future for those types of moves?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I hope they bring back Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen and freaking, I mean, the truth is that at least the way it was set up at the end of the movies, the only Force ghosts there was Obi-Wan, Yoda, Anakin, and Liam Neeson.
Yep, Liam Neeson, which they added.
Yeah, that's the implication. It was in the third one, So like, they're the only Force ghosts that exist. Nobody else knew how to do that before then.
Huh? Before then?
Yeah, and since then there haven't been Jedi. I mean, they've all been dead. Those are the people that were trained how to do it.
They were the last to die of the Jedi minus Luke. He's the only Jedi left.
Well, he was the last Jedi. I mean, and Leia has potential.
So is that to say then, since like Yoda was one of the last to die as well, then
it's Liam Neeson died, Qui-Gon Jinn died, and he like spoke to Yoda through the Force and told him about how to do this.
All that.
And then at the last scene, Episode 3, Yoda says to Obi-Wan that he has study for him with your old master.
That's right. I remember that. There's a little
that little exposition that's like. Yeah. So
a little taste.
Like Qui-Gon is gonna like teach Obi-Wan. He already taught Yoda how to like pass into the Force. I don't know how Anakin
theory,
did it.
Nobody else.
He transcended it or something because he's so awesome.
But no other Jedi then, in theory, has that knowledge. So we're not gonna see other Jedi. If it was passed down to the lineage of Master to Padawan, in that sense, just with those...
Well, potentially those Force Ghosts could teach the other people how to do the same thing.
So you're saying we could see like a Mace Windu Force Ghost? Or...
No, Mace Windu
He's not part of it.
He went out before it. Yeah, okay. That's what I'm saying. The people from the prequels, they're the only ones.
Okay, gotcha.
Going forward, there could be new ones. But like Luke could become one.
Luke
totally.
Could. Oh, absolutely.
Totally, he could. He could die in this one, and then the next one he could be the Force Ghost.
Which
would actually be what I would think they would do, because of like Star Wars has like symmetry to it, and there's like, so you repeat certain themes over and over. It's like a song. It's like a big opus, and you repeat motions and themes throughout it.
It's really all on Luke right now in this movie. Like to move on for Jedi, period. The only thing left is Luke.
Well, presumably it's been a long time since the end of Return of the Jedi. He could have rebuilt the Jedi Order in that time. He could come in
he could
and
have trained
like
a couple
30, 50 Jedi.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But in theory, he's the oldest. He's the biggest man.
Yeah, he's like the head of the council or whatever. He's the...
So if there's always balance, though, who was the negative during that time that existed? Like, there's always balance. You can't just have Luke being the only Jedi left.
Well, there's ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
So it's like you defeat the Empire, and then you have so much time of peace, and then this movie comes in when the dark side comes back to the universe and creates conflict again. I mean, that's also part of kind of the theme of Star Wars is this ebb and flow of like good and bad balancing each other out over and over again.
Gotcha.
You know.
Okay, so it's not with one existing out there. It's kind of like go back and forth and try to equalize.
The Sith wipe out the Jedi, and then the Jedi wipe out the Sith, and then the Sith wipe out the Sith. So like this.
Gotcha. So in theory, really, the dark side became so powerful because there was a Jedi Academy and there's a shit ton of good Jedi. Like eventually, like they screwed themselves because there's too much of it. Inevitably, there's going to be Lord Sidious and then fucking his apprentices, and they're going to be the Sith, and they're going to equalize.
In the ancient stuff, like when you go to the writings, the comic books and things, there was the Sith were like a race. They were like they were like a temple of people that believed in this. There was lots of them.
It was forced, but it was the dark side.
There was like a war between the Jedi and the Sith, and there was like two big armies.
Gotcha.
And so like it could be that again. Like there could be where there's lots of Sith, not just one or two.
That seems Disney.
Following the Darth Plagueis model.
Oh yeah, that seems so Disney like they could have just put 15 pirates on the ship. They went like 100. Like it's Disney. Let's go 100 Sith, man.
That's actually the Darth Bane books. Are about the guy who like made the rule that there can only be two Sith and like wiped out the Sith Order. Those are great books. You should read them. Huh? So in like the comic book universe and stuff, the rebels take over Coruscant and like there's a new republic.
Which is why the movie technically ends where they're kind of celebrating. They have it. They own that piece of property, but
it makes sense that at the end of Return of the Jedi, they killed the Empire or the Emperor.
Right.
And destroyed the Death Star, and that's great. Celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
But the Empire's still out there. They still control Coruscant. They still have a whole fleet of Star Destroyers, and they have generals on every ship. And
you got rogue generals everywhere. At this
and
point.
We're still a little ragtag group of rebels with, like 10 ships and, 1,000 people.
Right.
And so, like,
they
have a whole war to fight.
Yeah.
And so presumably these movies will take place, like 20 years or 30 years after the last one's ended.
Sure.
And they could be just getting to that point where they've like taken the Empire down and they're going in to take Coruscant back.
Take it back? I thought they had Coruscant. So where
they didn't have Coruscant. At the end of Jedi, they toppled the Emperor statue on Coruscant. Like the people rose up and
that's where the ceremony was.
So the Emperor's gone. That doesn't mean that the government that was there is gone though.
Sure.
There's the rebels still don't control Coruscant. They got to go take it.
Oh, okay, sure.
And
where was the ceremony at the end of Jedi? Is what I'm getting at.
The end of Jedi, they show like clips from all over the place of different things that are happening, and like on Endor, they're celebrating with the Ewoks.
You're right. You're right. They go from Endor to all over, but you're right. They got to battle back for Coruscant.
They would have to fight a war that would take 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
They'd have to build an army, and the Empire would come right out and subvert the people. It's not like because the Emperor's gone, they can't just still send stormtroopers out in the street and start shooting people. So.
Do you think there's a faction, if you had to step outside the universe, though, that, like, they might have been fighting because of fear, like, Nazi-wise? Like, maybe they laid down, like, a large majority of stormtroopers and generals probably lay down their weapons and cause because it's toppled and they realize this has been bad. And, like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Darth Vader
I still think you'd have to fight a war to take back that planet. Sure. And that whole section of the universe, even. I mean, they control everything, and they're everywhere, and they have thousands of ships, and you're like 100 people.
Yeah, no,
like so. I mean, it was probably more than that. By the end of Jedi, they had a fleet.
Sure,
but it was a fleet against like hundreds of fleets. Mm-hmm. So like you don't just go take that planet back. It takes a long time. You got to fight a lot of wars, lots of battles, win people over, build your army.
You have to literally planet hop, essentially, to get support and
go around, pick people up, get more ships, get more manpower, get some defectors from the Empire to come help you.
Oh, yeah.
And then you slowly take it. But it could take 30 years.
Sure.
So if at the beginning of this episode 7 they're working on, it would be awesome if it was like the scene where the Jedi are like landing on Coruscant, battling to take the temple back, and like, you know, and you have Luke Skywalker come in and just start throwing shit at people, taking out stormtroopers like.
And he's leading the academy of like 20 Jedi that he's trained in the last 30 years,
and like a bunch of soldiers from the Alliance.
Yeah, from multiple planets, so you could have like different aliens and shit. That'd be awesome, man. I can see that. Like, what a great place to start it, because it would legitimize why he's older. And he could get a lot accomplished, and he introduced his academy. Because I hate to say it, but I'm not a huge fan. But I know that if Luke's the only Jedi left, inevitably it's him who restarts the Jedi training,
right? Yeah,
the Force and all that.
In the books, he establishes a temple on the planet where the Death Star was in Episode 4. The end of Episode 4, the original one, where they're coming around the planet, and 10 minutes till we can shoot the planet. And I'm like, why didn't you just fly over there in space?
Shortest line to a point.
Like, just come out over there, and then the planet's not in the way. What
it's not Alderaan, because they blew that up here, right? It's not Alderaan, because they blew that one up.
No, it's not Alderaan. It's Yavin 4.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So he puts the temple on Yavin 4.
Isn't that a moon?
And like you remember in that the where the X-wings were housed, it was like a pyramid.
Sure.
That they were in that movie. They were like in this big complex of pyramids. Okay. That was where their base was. So in the books, that there's like ruins, and they find out they're like Sith temple ruins.
Sith.
Yeah. So like then that's like a whole plot line in the books. I like the books a lot. I don't think they should do anything like the books with the movies.
Right. With the exception of having him create a temple for
he can create a temple somewhere. It could be on Yavin 4. Why the fuck not? Yeah, but, they don't need to worry about the plot lines of those books at all.
No, that makes sense. That'd be really interesting.
But I think it'd be great if he came in. And...
Where would Leia, being in the same time frame,
she could be a Jedi.
A Jedi or a general? Oh, I suppose Luke could train.
I think likely she'll be a Jedi.
Fair.
She maybe won't be like a warrior Jedi. She's more like the kind
politician
of the
Jedi.
Thinks and like meditates, and
doesn't
mean she'll still have a lightsaber and fight a little bit of it.
Sure. I really see her as being like the polar opposite to Palpatine. Like I could see
being
that
a politician.
Yeah, but
that's how it was in the books.
Good. Is it really? Yeah, well, yeah.
She becomes like the president.
But I'm saying as a Jedi though too. Like she's a Jedi, not a Sith. But in that sense, she could possibly get to that Supreme Chancellor role in a good sense. Like, I see her capability. She's the general, the leader, ultimately, of the rebellion.
Well, it's really, though, the leader is Mon Mothma.
That's true.
And in the books, she's the one who originally takes power, and then Leia takes it from her when she, retires. Mm-hmm. And that makes sense. It does, but at the same time, I'm like, they could go a totally different route. They could just be like, Leia's not a politician. She
could be a
got
general,
trained how to be
honestly.
a Jedi after that. She could be a general. She could be.
Yeah. Well, it seems weak to suggest that she wouldn't at least be somewhat trained in the Force, because she's a twin of Luke and Anakin's kid. Like, there's got to be some Force in this kid, right?
Well, they even say so. I mean, there is another. They're saying she's a Jedi
she's
too.
The hope. Or it could
and if Luke's looking to train somebody right away after this is done, like, she's the obvious target.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah, Jedi. She just found out that she's his sister and that she has these powers, and she's like, "No, I can't." They do that whole scene, so it totally makes sense. They've already implied that she's going to become a Jedi.
Well, and that would just fall into place for the template that exists in the sense that, like, prior to we had Anakin with Obi-Wan and even Qui-Gon. They were like the Jedi that counseled the Republic. And helping fight certain situations or advising and being representatives. I mean, hand in hand, that represents Luke and Leia. I mean, Luke could be the Jedi side of it. She could as well be a Jedi, but she could also be that general who's trying to like accomplish the goals. She's very that, but working hand in hand with the Jedi.
I'll be interested to see what they do with it.
That'd be interesting. Yeah.
I'm not really sure how they'll handle it. So I'm tainted by the knowledge of how the books go. I've read like 100 Star Wars books in my life, and I start going like, and I'm not saying I want to be like it, but I'm already like thinking like this was a good plot point, and that was a good plot point. Like there's things you could steal from the books.
Oh sure.
And and in my head I go like, one of the things that they talk about is how like the problem with the old Jedi was that they were so involved with the government.
Yeah.
And that the new Jedi Order is like on a different planet. Like, we don't be around the government. We're our own thing.
They're more of a superhero. They kind of fall in where they need to be. And,
They get given, like, jurisdictions. And
don't they have their own agenda, then? I mean, like...
They do have their own agenda.
Okay.
Yeah. They totally do. That's a big thing in the books. And also, I mean, there's a lot of issues in the books with how well the different Jedis are controlled by Luke, and, like, people go off and become rogue and do bad shit. And you got to create a lot of plots for books. So,
well, which is what Disney wants to do. You don't spend $4.3 billion on something just to do 3 movies. Like,
oh, they're not going to do 3 movies. They're going to make a movie a year for the rest of forever.
Yeah. Oh, they're going to fucking... Yeah. Why wouldn't you? I mean, they're set up to just do multiple plot points and lines and characters. And it's exactly what all Star Wars fans wanted. And new Star Wars fans are going to be creative.
There's a little concern I have about oversaturation. Where it becomes like how you were when we saw the trailer for Transformers 4, and you were like, "I'm done with it."
I agree. I agree.
I mean, I'm not. I really like the Transformers movies. I'm excited for another one, but that happens to the populace. It's a valid point.
Yes. I will say this though: the comparative to that is, for me, Transformers represents Michael Bay. Star Wars and Star Trek, to me, represents J.J. Abrams. And I will fucking be in that seat.
Yeah.
That's the bit. And don't get me wrong. In fact, I'm always pleasantly surprised, even with number 2 of the Transformer trilogy that exists currently. I do like all 3 movies. The third one is really decent, The Dark of the Moon. But at the end of the day, I'm sorry, I can only take so many of the same vehicles changing in 100 different poses and like... It is robot porn.
It's robot porn, yeah.
It is. I get it, but
that's why they put a dragon in this one.
Okay, like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, it feels like the pool of ideas is so empty at this point. You're peeing in it to get.
Well, no, they're still stealing from the cartoon. I mean, they're all characters that they're repeating that are from the mythos that has been created around.
And that is probably my issue. Is I never was totally a Transformer kid.
I wasn't a big Transformer kid, but I got into it recently. I mean, like, the movies spawned me to go back and watch some of that, and then the new series that came out, Transformers Prime, is an excellent show.
It is. Actually, I've watched it.
Excellent show.
Yeah, no, and those are cool. I think my major issue with the movies really are Michael Bay. And it's when I watch
I like Michael Bay, but I understand what you're saying.
It's just so formulaic. It's like, I love it. If I'm getting stoned and I want something big and I got 3D TV, I'm watching Transformers. Love it. Pick it. It's probably in the top 10 something to watch, and never lets down, even the second one. Seriously, like,
yeah, that's the way you say that. I mean, that one lets out a little bit.
Like, oh yeah, I didn't pay money for it.
I agree. The first and third ones are really good. The second one,
and it's gonna go new because there's no Shia and they're changing it up, but still at the end.
And I like Mark Wahlberg a lot.
I agree. You can't go wrong. And again, they're putting butts in the seat, but it's so formulaic. Like, really, the plot is always different. But it's so the same movie.
Well, I mean, the plots of any of those shows from when we were kids.
Oh, sure.
They're just repetitive, and they're like, they use themes just over and over and over again.
But that's exactly it. I wouldn't argue that He-Man or Ninja Turtles deserve 6 movies either. I'm just saying, cut it at 3.
I think that actually Ninja Turtles could have 20 movies if they develop the characters and keep the plots moving forward. That it could be a really awesome set of movies.
Not the show.
That's
if it was just based on that show, you can't. The
problem with the robots is there's like almost no character to them.
They did really good for the time. Let's admit that the Ninja Turtles movies were bomb back in the day.
They were. Have you seen the art for the new one?
Yes.
You've seen the mock-ups of
but
I'm like, oh, they're pretty cool. It's
a
little different than I was thinking.
But I'm interested. I will be there. I will go watch that.
The samurai armor.
They look turtle-esque. Yes, they actually have some like
real
beaks.
Turtles.
Yeah. It's Michael Bay though. I'm jaded, and I know we're on a different subject, but it doesn't matter because turtles matter. Turtles to me, I agree
that they shouldn't have picked Michael Bay to make the Turtle movies.
Even if it's Michael Bay, I don't care who it is. Michael Bay is the reason this problem exists, though, and the fact that they are changing it, or at least maybe they've decided not to do this because of the
alien
lack.
thing?
Yes,
They're not doing that.
They changed that finally.
They're not.
And
they came out pretty quickly and said,
"No,
we're not doing that."
What
they said is we were never doing that. That's what they said. It was like, oh,
really?
You were.
I didn't hear that at all.
They came out. They were like, no, we were never doing it.
From my point of view, what I read is Michael Bay said that for months on end before I heard.
Right, exactly. And then he said he never said it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What a douche. See,
he is a douche. He's totally a douche. I agree.
Oh, wow. Anyway, for the readers or listeners, back view, if you didn't follow any of that, Michael Bay came out originally on an announcement of him making TMNT was going to change the Ninja Turtles from mutants into aliens from a different world. And to him, obviously, probably not a fan because that's a minute plot point. And yeah, I get it. If you're trying to make a blockbuster, that might fit better. But it goes back to fan base.
What's the mythos?
That's
the whole mythos of the show. The ooze and the transformation.
It's
that's
mutants. It's the whole thing.
That's where it comes from. You know, like Shredder's a rat. He learned from a human, and they're ninjas. They know like real world ninjutsu.
Yeah,
that exists in Asia.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't know space ninjas. They're not like
yeah, right. No shit, like
space ninjas. That'd be a cool movie.
I'd fucking see that. Just for the record, you said Shredder. It was Splinter. You meant that.
Yeah, Splinter. Yeah, I did mean Splinter.
Yep. How about that sucks about Batman and Superman though in another year.
Oh, they put it off a year?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
That's alright.
Yeah.
I can handle it.
Apparently,
I was kind of surprised how soon they announced it when they announced it. I was like, seriously? You're going to make that movie that fast?
Yeah.
Like, don't rush it. Make the movie good.
Yeah, for some reason, a whole year though, that seems... I mean, obviously you weren't done right.
They pushed Star Wars like 8 months or something.
Mm-hmm.
They pushed it from May to December.
Yeah.
So that's a big push.
Yeah, a Christmas movie though.
It makes total sense. I mean, they didn't do it to make it a Christmas movie. They'd much rather bring it out as a summer release, but
sure. They don't need to though.
They want the time.
Yeah.
Plus, Christmas movies. The key is that you're the Christmas movie now.
Yeah, exactly.
There really only is one. Like this year, then the next year too. It's been the Hobbit movies for 3 years.
That's true. And then it was always
Harry Potter before that.
Yeah.
I'd be alright with the Christmas movie being Star Wars every year. That'd be awesome.
Oh.
That's the rumor about the second movie is rumored to be the Boba Fett movie.
Nice.
And there's a rumor going around that says that at the opening of the movie, like they'll get Daniel Logan to come in, the kid who was Boba Fett, and it'll be him, and then somebody will kill him and steal his armor.
So it wasn't even him at all.
So it wasn't him at all.
Oh, that's crazy. They're like, yeah, okay, fuck it.
And he's like, nope, that wasn't him.
Yeah.
Nice tease.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. No shit. Well, I mean, that makes sense for the character because you kind of have to do it justice.
I think he's supposed to be mysterious, and you can't know all this stuff about him.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't know that his daddy was whatever. Like that's.
And if you are going to reveal,
he's like a man of mystery.
Yeah, he is Boba Fett. I love that.
Captain Solo in the cargo hold. He's got like 12 lines in all the movies.
Yeah.
He's like the most popular character from the entire series.
Oh,
Him and Yoda.
Yoda, yeah. Yoda, understandably.
Yeah, Yoda's actually a central character.
Yeah. Huh. It is funny how Boba Fett became such a fucking huge character. I mean, he did nothing.
Yeah, I mean, originally he wasn't in the first movie.
And he goes out like a bitch.
Really, how he became a huge character was when they like unveiled the armor at like a parade in the 70s.
Was that what it was?
And it was like, oh, that's really cool. And then he was in the holiday special.
Yeah, that's right.
The cartoon, and they were like, oh, Boba Fett. So they were like, well, let's put him in Empire and make him kind of a character. But I mean, he's the bounty hunter that captures Han Solo. But at the end of the day, it's really close to like Vader captured Han Solo, and he's just sort of in the background. He like tracked him for him or something.
That's about it.
Like he's gonna be over here later.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, but I know I've said it, but you maybe don't agree. But motherfucker, he goes out like a bitch. Like that. Like,
yeah. At the end of the day, he didn't go out. He's down in the Sarlacc. He's fixing his freaking jetpack. He'll be right back.
I get it. I get it.
He just fell in the hole. Like that's.
It looked horrible. Like, oh shit, this went off. Oh, I'm dead. like,
yeah. Like if Luke Skywalker's gonna kill him, he doesn't just kick him in the Sarlacc pit. Fucker should chop him in half.
Yeah.
Cut his head off, or
It was your first day learning how to fly that jetpack or something. Because it just didn't make sense at all.
Yeah, there's like a button on the back of it that just makes it shoot off like that.
Yeah, Luke just hit the right button. Like, oh shit!
Maybe I shouldn't be wearing this technology on my back.
Shit. But truthfully, it's like the only time we got to see it work. Like maybe he didn't even know. Like he's wearing this thing around. He's like, okay, one day maybe I'll get to fly around. If I have to make a quick escape, I'll hit this button. That went real well. He does too. He just fucking hits the side of that fucking thing. I don't know.
They should digitally go in and edit him out and replace him and make Boba Fett cooler in Return of the Jedi. Just that scene.
Put him in there. Yeah.
Put him in there, make him fight a good fight and actually get shot and go down or something.
Sure.
Like.
Yeah, like I could see him falling in the Starlight Pit, but he takes somebody with him. You know, like I ain't going out alone. Like Billy D.
Yeah.
Like that dude should have died.
Yeah, that dude deserved to fall in the Starlight Pit.
He should have gone out.
He'd earned it.
Yeah.
He's the general hero at the end of the movie.
No shit. That everybody loves. I mean, he redeemed himself, I guess.
Sure.
But that was a pretty
thing
there
is a bit of understanding to Billy D being like, Darth Vader came and said I had to give you to him or he was going to get you anyway.
And we died. And we get nothing.
Those are kind of the two options.
Yeah.
Here's the differences. I walked out on the landing platform and greeted you instead of a fleet of stormtroopers came out and greeted you on the landing. Either way.
That's why we all get to have a nice meal.
You guys can get cleaned up before you get tortured.
Yeah. He's like, oh, psych! Here, borrow my ship. like, would you trust your ship to fucking do it after he pulled that shit up? No.
Well, I could see him trusting when he landed there, and that's his friend. But really, Lando could have been dead, and the people on Spaceport could have just been like, yeah, okay, you can land on this platform. You land, you get out of the ship.
Sure.
And then now you're not in the ship. They could just shoot you.
No, I guess I'm sort of getting that Return of the Jedi, right? Like, he takes the Millennium Falcon, right?
Uh-huh.
And Han is going down to the
He's like, no, you take it.
Yeah, he's like, no, you take it. I trust her with nobody. But, like, that's a motherfucker that betrayed you. Like.
He's also the one who saved you from jail. He showed up there and rescued your ass. Like,
yeah.
And there is, like I said, there's some understanding where you go, like, Vader's here. What the fuck are you going to do? Yeah. How are you going to stop Vader from getting me? Why would you?
And he does convey very well. Like, he's obviously caught in a very hard position. Yeah, I get that. But.
And there is that truth, too, of, like, it's like, okay, this is my old buddy, who, obviously from the subtext of when they met, I'm pissed at.
Yeah, exactly. He's got my vehicle.
So my choice is I can let my city be destroyed and I can go to Imperial prison, or I can hand them him.
Yeah.
Like, what do you pick?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to be able to stop the Empire from shutting me down if they want to, so...
And it's not like he was invested in Princess Leia in any way. He didn't know her or anything like that.
It was just him and Han.
Alright.
He quickly turned tide and said, like, no, I'm on you guys' team. I couldn't do anything about Vader.
Yeah.
I'm understanding for Lando's predicament.
Yeah, and he did have a planet, if you will.
Like an installation, a city, whatever.
That was looking to him for guidance, I guess. But I don't know.
I'm surprised Han would give the Falcon to anybody, though.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to fly without me in it? Fuck you.
Although
he's like, that's the fastest one the fleet has got. You're like, really?
He did get it from him, didn't he? Right? He won it from him? Wasn't that
originally.
Yeah, it was Lando's, and then he won it or something. Yeah, and that's how he got it.
He won it in the Sabacc hand. It's in the books.
Okay.
They announced, too, that they're going to combine... Like, originally it's always been like, there's the book universe, and then there's the movie universe, and they're going to combine them.
Really?
They're not saying whether that means, like, the old books are going to go into the current universe.
Sure.
Like, it might be like, we kind of disregard what comes of art. From now on, the books are part of the universe.
That's awesome.
Or if they're just going, like,
Yeah.
Like, they're just going to take those stories and be like, that's part of it, and these characters in this new movie are based on those characters.
That'd be awesome.
They might do that.
You're talking about the whole idea of the Force not being so much now anymore, or the idea that, you know, what was it, the new race? I forget the name.
There was, yeah, I doubt they'll do that story, but
sure.
there was the people who came from another galaxy.
Yeah.
They, like, crossed from a different galaxy, and they weren't affected by the Force. So you couldn't sense them in the Force. They weren't, like, part of the Force.
Huh. That's interesting. They won't do that, probably.
They also do another thing in the books where there's this animal that can, like, make the Force not work in its presence. It's like a Yosemilari or something like that. I never could pronounce the name.
Sure.
But it's just like a lizard. And you have some of those in your base, and then the Jedi don't work there.
That's pretty stupid. Like that.
That's in like the original Star Wars books that started the Star Wars books. It's in the Heir to the Empire series.
That kind of feels like midichlorians to me. Like,
well, I mean, midichlorians are the thing.
Yeah,
that's what it's about.
Doesn't make them right. Sorry, George. I mean, like, after what, 20 some odd years, 25 plus years, actually 30.
I actually don't have a problem with midichlorians, but I have a problem with this. It's really easy to just take a blood sample and test somebody for. Like, as a concept of, like, you have little microbic cells in your body that give you the ability to sense this field, and, like, different people have different levels of them, and it determines how much you can touch the Force. Like, that makes sense.
Right.
But to be able to go, like, click, oh, you're a Jedi.
Yeah.
Like, that is...
But yeah, even though that exists, you still have a council that sits there and goes, "Is he the one?" Like,
it's like, well, their levels are the highest anybody's ever been.
Yeah, like you have science.
He's more powerful than Master Yoda. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that is a little inconsistent. See, I think like the beautiful part about the Force is it's directly related to faith, which science has nothing to do with. And the idea that people love the idea of the Force coming from the first ones is you had to believe in it. It was super powerful. It encompassed everybody if you truly wanted it to. And some people were stronger in it. And that makes a lot of sense. But the minute you put any science base on it and say, oh, we can test for it, now it's basically like saying, oh, we can test for godliness. Or we can test, you know, it's the same idea.
Yeah.
Science, like
I said, I think it's cool, the idea of that's how it works. We just shouldn't be able to read those cells with a little piece of equipment. They're more mystic than that.
Yeah.
You can't just take a blood sample and be like, this is the count of this bacteria he has in his body. No.
Yeah. It really
it should really be like a thing that maybe the Jedi can sense how powerful you are with their sense. They can feel how many of those you got, but they can't just like put it on their iPad.
Well, in the first movies alluded to that idea in the sense that the Force is strong with it.
Yeah.
Like they could just feel it. They don't need,
Yeah.
nor do they have a test, because if they did, they probably
I think that's every time Star Wars fails, it's when it gets too specific.
Yeah, I agree.
It needs to stay mystical and mysterious and have like subtle undertones.
Well, that just goes to prove the fan base, because the fans want it innocuous. They want it to be that realm where they get to make it up at this point. It's no longer George Lucas or Disney. It is. But they have to do it justice. They can fail, obviously. Phantom Menace, fucking,
Well, it didn't fail.
It didn't fail, but it failed in
the sense. Some of the highest-grossing movies ever.
It succeeded, and he deserves all the credit for it. I mean, it's a great fucking movie, and in fact,
Phantom Menace is a pretty good movie. It has some slow stuff in the middle.
But what I'm getting at is the franchise, to me, does not feel like it's his anymore. Like,
it shouldn't be his. It should be the world's.
That's what I'm saying.
He can be the creator who was writing it, and then you can get
problem
another creator to write it. But you have to write it. You have to write it in the heart of what it is.
Exactly.
What's come before. You have to keep that in mind and follow like a pattern.
He did. He followed that pattern, but unfortunately, it just got bigger than him even at that point.
Well, I think
were like,
that there is a little bit of you get so famous that people stop telling you that you're wrong.
Yeah. Oh, for
sure. Now every great idea, George.
Yeah, no shit.
That's midichlorians. Fucking great idea, George.
Oh.
Yes, men.
That's why you get paid $4 to $3 billion.
Nobody's gonna be like George Lucas doesn't know how Star Wars goes until the movie comes out.
That's true.
I really Phantom Menace is a good movie. The kid's too young, and the midichlorians thing is stupid. Sure. I'm all right with Jar Jar even. I'm okay with it. Jar Jar. I'm all right with it. I don't love him, but he's all right in the movie. I mean, as a thing for kids, that's kind of a side character. Maybe he's in it a little too much, but not as bad as people say.
No.
Yeah.
I like that later on he kind of did a laughable moment with Jar Jar and the Senate creating the issue.
Yeah.
You know, that was okay, but...
yeah,
even when it was bad. I don't
the kid
foresee
was
him
too
as
young, though. He was just... he should have
totally.
been older. It would have made so much more sense, and the sequel would have felt so much closer to the first one if the kid had been older. Maybe a kid, but you get him now and he's a young teen. Well, you wait 2 years to make the next movie. Now he's old enough that you can portray him a year or two older than he is. Maybe before you were portraying him a year or two younger than he is.
Sure.
So, like...
I don't know how old or what he looked like, but I bet Hayden Christensen would have been an appropriate choice. Even
He probably would have been, yeah.
I mean, would have been close.
Yeah. If you'd taken him just a couple of years earlier, he would have been... I mean, he was right at that point where he'd just, like, gone through a growth spurt. He was, like, 17. So you get, like... 2 years ago, he was a foot shorter. Like, that's...
No shit. Well, and I do think that kid was one of those things where either George or somebody high up knew
it was
of
George.
this kid. Was it George?
Yeah, but he didn't know of him, but he held searches, but he picked the kid.
Yeah, and then he was just so in love with the kid.
That's why it was.
Yeah.
He went and casted, and he loved the kid, so he made it the kid.
Yeah.
I think he also, though, he casted for a younger role.
Sure, he did.
He wanted that kid to be a little innocent. That's what he's going for. He wanted super innocence, and if the kid gets too old, he doesn't have that innocence. And you go, like, you can have that innocence if that's how you write him as a character.
Yeah.
Like,
that's... Case in point,
character can be whatever character you want him to be. Yeah. You just write him that way.
Clark Kent, dude, when he's a young kid growing up on the farm, he's like the most innocent Boy Scout the fucker there is. It doesn't matter.
Even when he's a teenager in high school, yeah.
Yeah, that could have been that character. It's just he only saw... I think his easy way out of innocence to portray that was a kid. And that makes sense, but... It doesn't make sense.
I think you should have picked an older kid, and I think you should have shown him as innocent, but given the audience like 2 single moments where you see a flash of anger that comes out in the character, where you have a moment where he's pissed. Just for a moment. You know, and somebody reminds him to be mindful, and he calms down. Yeah. Like, just...
the pod race would have been a perfect point. Like, like, he would have had the ability to gain something over...
Just one tight shot on his face, and you see that glint in his eye, like... And then he rams the guy. Like, that kind of a moment.
The anger takes over. Yeah. There was none of that, was there? It was just naiveness.
Yeah. Just naiveness and sweetness. And you're like... And then you cut to the beginning of episode 2, and it's a different actor who's much older.
Who's really
he's
struggling.
A cynical prick.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's the same character?
Yeah. Like, we've obviously missed a lot in between there, but all of a sudden now this is like, he's not even the same kid for some reason. I mean...
I'm okay with them having switched actors. It's not even that.
Yeah, no, it's just the different portrayal.
Yeah, it's the different portrayal of the character, and you saw none of that in the other character.
Like, I would have expected him to act like that after his mother died.
I also think it's a very poor choice for him to have been obsessing about the girl.
Yeah.
For what, like 10 years, and he hasn't seen her since then. Like that, they say since blah 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 blah. They do a line of exposition to say I haven't seen her since way back when. And, like, I jerk off about her all the time.
Yeah,
like,
right.
that's...
yeah, now you're just creepy, dude. like you could have made it, like, a little...
It should have been, like, he sees her and falls in love with her instantly.
Yeah, exactly.
But, like, he didn't even have freaking hair on his dick when he saw her last time.
Yeah. Yeah, like, they could have had a nice, sweet, innocent moment. Like, honestly, if you're going to show him with cynicism and kind of darkness right away... Like, that moment of seeing her again could have, like, made him fall back into that innocence. And, like, you could have had an easy conversation of, I used to have a crush on you. Or, like, something like that would make sense. And honestly, like, there was no reason for him to be that dark right off the bat. Like, had his mother died or something prior to it, I would have gotten him being dark. But
he wasn't that dark, but it was like he was an angsty teenager, and you're going, like, yeah, but you're a fucking Jedi.
You're the best Jedi.
Like, how are you an angsty teenager when you're a Jedi?
Exactly. They don't allow
like
you
that.
To do
that just isn't. That's not part of your charter, motherfucker. Like,
yeah, you get bitch slapped for all the other little things you do wrong. Yet they let that slide. You're like the biggest douche there is, and you know you're the best. So like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think they misportrayed that character quite a bit.
Yeah, which is sad.
Although you get to the third movie.
Yes.
And that movie's perfect.
He's on it.
I think the third movie is killer. Everything but the scene where she's pregnant and they're in the hotel room or whatever.
Yeah, I know.
They're like talking. And she's like, I think you're amazing and I love you loving me or whatever that crap. It was just horrible dialogue. It was a wasted scene. It had no point in the film.
Yeah, I agree.
So like, other than that scene though, and the end when she dies.
Yeah, a little bit. a little something there.
It's a line of dialogue that's just wrong.
Yeah, it was dialogue.
They said, "Oh, she just gave up her will to live."
Yeah,
fuck that.
That's what it was.
She just got choked the fuck out.
Yeah, just call it what it is. He killed the bitch.
He killed the bitch. Like, just make it that.
Exactly. Because that's what
like pregnant woman got choked the fuck out and then she just dies.
She died in childbirth.
She didn't die from getting choked.
No,
it wasn't him. You're like, why did he killed her? That makes sense. That makes him Darth Vader.
That describes exactly why he turned. Yeah. Like, there's no going back. Yeah, no, I agree. That movie too, I did take issue with a few little things, like, not that they were bad, they were awesome and entertaining, but like the Anakin flip scene where he's in the office with the Chancellor, like, a little anticlimactic, because it kind of just, I mean, it happened, people running back and forth, and he had to call him, and it was good, but like Anakin just caved so fucking easy. You know, that's what it felt like. Like, all of a sudden, like, oh, you killed all these people. Oh, you truly are the best. Like,
well, he's given the choice to save his wife or not. He gives it up for her.
Right, but he's already done that.
And that's the irony. I like that. Except that he didn't kill her. He should have killed her.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That was the whole point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the irony in, like, I gave up this thing and went to the dark side to save my wife, and now I choked the bitch out and killed her from my anger. Like, that's totally a great metaphor and, like, a great story.
No,
no, he didn't kill her.
No.
She just dies.
Yeah.
She just gives up. She's like, I just had babies. Bye, babies.
Yeah. She had no reason to live. Let alone one. She's got two. Yeah. No. Yeah. I did love, though, he finally, like, to me, made not that the first two weren't good movies, but, like, a really good fucking, like, cinematic thing. Like, and they were great movies. All of them are good in their own right. Even the second one is awesome. But those are, like, action and space things. And, like, this one was, like, deep. Like, the third one where he changes finally. And I think he actually nailed some of the dialogue, though we give him shit about that. Like, there's a couple scenes in there. Like, the one I remember the most, my favorite scene, is Palpatine and Anakin in the opera.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's awesome.
That's like the best fucking stuff. Like, yeah, like, it doesn't mean anything to the plot because he's talking about past shit, but it's so poignant, and it lays out the future of the plot.
Well,
totally.
He's talking about he's tantalizing Anakin for the first time. He's saying like, I'm dark, but I can help you.
Yeah, in fact, that's probably like what, out of this 5-6 movies, we're finally waiting for something like that out of Palpatine. Like, that actor deserved that. And finally, you give it to him, and he fucking takes it.
Where he's eloquent, and he's like an evil fucker.
That's what we wanted.
Yeah.
Like, fuck the dark.
That was a great scene, and like the whole Anakin Obi-Wan battle at the end is great. Like, Padme shows up, he chokes the bitch out. Obi-Wan comes and saves him.
I don't want to fight.
They were one too many times. They were like, absolutes or the dark side.
Yeah, a little bit.
They like repeated lines back at each other. A little bit. That scene was a little too long, but mostly it was a good scene, except for that last line or whatever.
Yeah.
and then the battle was amazing, and the way it was cut back and forth with the Yoda fight and the thing, like, that's amazing. And it's like 35 minutes of cinema that you're just like, this is Star Wars.
Yeah, it is the culmination. He did that right. That third movie is definitely the end cap. It fits perfectly. He did a really good job.
It redeems the second one. It's like the first one, the second one, boo. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, but you redeemed it. You made it worth watching the trilogy.
You can walk away now. Yeah. No, and I guess there's a few things that people take issue with that I don't truly in the third, and one of them being is the Padawan killings. I personally think that was an amazing choice that you probably would not have gotten George Lucas to choose usually, and I think he went that way because he knew that was unexpected, and I thought it was a good choice, even though it was kind of dark.
The Padawan killing? I think it was perfect.
It was perfect choice.
It's like that choice he has to make.
Yeah. Like, that's gonna seal the
drives
deal.
it home, yeah.
So you can say all this stuff.
Now you've already done this. Yeah, like, that's the end of you.
Yeah, you're gonna prove it right now by doing that.
Yeah, go kill kids.
Exactly. Like, they will never love you anyway anymore. Yeah. You're on my side, or we're against each other, and so is the rest. But yeah, that's what that was, and I think Lucas took a lot of flack for that. Like, oh, well, he didn't need to.
Well, and there's that part of you that goes like, yeah, but he could just go to the Jedi Temple
and kill him.
and just
yeah,
and just like be like, hey, all the Jedi that are left, let's go kill that fucker.
Yeah.
They're like, he killed Mace Windu.
Yeah, I know. Right?
Like, what's up, guys? He killed Mace Windu. Let's go kill him.
Yeah. Well, and he was totally set up for that.
He told me I should come kill the kids here. Let's go get that fucker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and it was the weakness. So he did use the plot point though of saving Padme. I mean, that was what it was.
That's what it was about. He was
the
like,
only
I'll do
reason
whatever I have to do to save my wife.
In fact, he did edit in portions of Padme coming home or something during that sequence where he's killing Padawans, right? Wasn't there like
he's
a cut to her or something? She's like waiting for him to
maybe
come
that's
home.
what it is.
And they keep cutting. They cut back from her back to him.
I haven't seen the movie in a while.
Yeah, that was a brilliant fucking movie.
It really is. It's very good. I mean, there's a couple things, but it's like they're minor.
Mm-hmm.
They're small annoyances.
Yeah, no. And I think though in that particular scene, I recall them cutting back to her because without doing that, it could have felt more like why wouldn't he just go tell the fucking, he's a Jedi. And in fact, I think that's why it feels weird, is because that whole like office scene where like Palpatine's just waiting, like he knows it's about to happen. Then like Mace Windu kind of goes out like a little bit, just slightly. Like it didn't feel right. Like
I got how Mace Windu went out.
I got it.
Like Anakin basically just distracted him. And
sure.
then the Emperor, who's already like about as powerful as Mace Windu, can get him by surprise because he's looking at Anakin now.
Sure.
Yeah. I get that. I think the Mace Windu scene's pretty good. I think it's okay.
Yeah, it
has its
bad.
failings, I agree.
Could have been worse, yeah.
It's pretty good. The whole scene where he comes with all the Jedi and they fight and he's flipping around in the office.
Yeah.
And like stuff like that. That's pretty badass.
That's good. Again, though, I think the office maybe is just like, to me, it felt like a weird setting for something so major. Like it was just every day. Although they just
came to get him.
Yeah,
in
it makes sense. It does.
And they think that how could he defeat? It's like 6 Jedis. It's the Council. It's like all the best Jedis show up to get his ass.
Yeah,
and they're like, he just chops their heads off.
Yeah,
he's like, I'm a badder ass motherfucker than you.
Yeah.
Like Mace Windu sort of best him, but they're pretty evenly matched.
Right. It's not a question of the power between Mace Windu and him, but like the whole window scene and like. That was more for Anakin's benefit, truthfully. Like, I think he did this right as the Chancellor. Like, to me, could have just finished Mace Windu off. Like, he used him in the plot to, like...
Right, he was helping sell Anakin, right.
Exactly. Like, oh, he's hurting me. And, yeah. But, like, if you're gonna make it just, like, end it and, like, he's your little player thing, like, make it dramatic and just be like it was. He kicked him out a window. Fine. But, like, maybe just take control of him and, like, now you see the true power and blah, blah, blah. And, like, boom, boom, boom against the walls and shit. And then, like, throw him out or something. Not like this. Oh, you slipped. Take over. Like...
Well, he blew him out with the electricity. I mean, he was like...
Yeah. Well, it's just like... It's kind of like Superman Fly Faster. It's just more of this. Yeah. No, it was good, though. It was good choices. In fact, the more I talk about it, the more it makes sense that you would choose those things, those drives.
I think General Grievous felt a little bit like a tack on.
Yeah, like
it just wasn't important at all.
General Grievous should have been bigger.
He was cool.
In the second
he was
one.
Badass, but yeah, like
he should have been the bad guy in the second, more than just the third.
He should have been there with Count Dooku's all right, but he should have been his henchman the whole time.
Mm-hmm. See, I personally think Count Dooku could have just not existed. Personally,
he's important to the plot and the idea of like he's the one who set up the
clone
army and like
I get that.
That's why he's there.
Couldn't you have just had an innocuous
he was a Jedi, he pretended he was a different Jedi and set up the clone army and then defected from the Jedi.
Yeah, like Grievous seems more like the quintessential second bad guy to have and because he already had
I went a little bit in the second one like why wasn't there just the fight in the Senate about whether or not to create a clone army?
Right. Why is the one guy going out?
Like at the like at the beginning of the Clone Wars, that could have been like the end of the second one. That's where the Clone Wars began? Is like at the end of the second one.
Yeah.
So yeah, like at the end of the second one, they could have just been talking about building a clone army and showed like the vats where they're growing them and the armor they're building.
So you're saying
and that way, like,
didn't
not
have
even
to exist.
they didn't have to already be there.
Yeah.
They could have shown up in the third one.
They
could have been the creation of the Clone Army in Clone Wars, like in the second one. Could have been about getting the clones, but like not actually like at the end of the movie you have an army.
Sure.
But they wanted a big battle scene at the end of the movie with the army.
Yeah.
Like that's.
Well,
so they had to come up with a device. They're like, how did they get the clones when they didn't know the Clone Wars were going to happen? And now,
with too much time we've passed though in between, like I get.
It took them like 7 years to grow.
Okay, so if the droids were out,
they could have made it. It takes 3 years. I mean, they could have made it makes 2 years. It doesn't matter to them. They could have just changed that device.
They could have. Like 2 years, 2 or 3 would have made sense, I guess. But yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I would say even halfway through the second movie, you could have introduced the idea that some company or corporate group
does this. Yeah, they just have the armies available. Yeah,
and then now the question is, does the Senate want to contract them out to make? In fact, that'd be more of a bigger.
Yeah, that'd be better. Yeah,
it'd be.
There you go. Do we want to buy an army?
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been a great discussion to have in a movie.
Yeah, especially when you're talking Senate and like droids and that would have made far more sense. Huh. We should have written Star Wars.
But just that idea of like, I mean, what it is kind of brilliant to be like Darth Sidious basically built an army.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago on the sly, so that he can just pull them out of his pocket and start this war. He owns the battle droids too, so he just has 2 sides that are fighting in his own little war that he's running.
Sure.
Like.
But he would have had that either way.
But he could have gotten it through the Senate instead of just like, miraculously, there is this army. Like, no, the Jedi had it made. Who had it made? This guy. Oh, he's dead.
Like, it would make far more sense as far as power goes for him to already control the droids, and then out of fear and angst, now the Senate is giving him all power to the army that they need to protect him from this one. And that would have been a crowning moment. That would have been like, oh, I've made it. They wanted me to have this, and like that would have been even more powerful, I think.
I mean, they still had the thing at the end of the movie where they're like, the Senate has to give them the power to use the army.
Yeah, which
so you're like, well, why does it have to like come out of nowhere? Oh, we don't know where it came from. Right. Like, isn't that a little suspicious?
Yeah.
I guess we don't care right now, but like.
Well, truth be told, like they could have totally used it as like this entity that creates these things exists already for security and places buy clones.
Well, he wouldn't even have shown up there if he hadn't been tried to be killed by Jango Fett.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, really, you orchestrated that so they tried to kill somebody you couldn't kill so they could track him back to the place so they could find the army? It seems a little complicated.
Like besides the actual creatures themselves, there was nothing to those shots. Like they weren't visually all that appealing. They were white or stormy in the sea.
Geonosis was cool.
It was cool, but it could have totally been left out. Honestly.
Sure. I mean, you need somewhere that you go to get the clones, and that's really what Geonosis is about, is seeing like the cloning tubes, and you just need like an environment to land in before you walk into the building to go see the cloning tubes.
And it makes sense.
And it's a cool environment. Yeah. Like it was fine, and it was a cool battle scene at the end with them and Jango Fett. Kind of cool.
Sure.
I actually really enjoy the where they're in the asteroids, and he's got the Jedi Starfighter, and Jango Fett's chasing him. That's a great scene.
That is a good scene. Yeah.
Like, I actually really think Episode 2 visually is one of the coolest Star Wars movies of all 6 films.
It is.
If you take a cut of that movie where you take out all the plot and you just do the action scenes and the fight sequences, that movie's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Like the whole scene on Coruscant where they're flying the things through the streets, that's tits.
It jumps out.
Yeah.
There's a lot
like they have the bar scene, they go in there, it's kind of reminiscent of the cantina scene. That's a really cool scene.
Well, and the fight at the end, obviously.
Yeah. The Yoda fight at the end, and then like the Geonosis battle arena scene. That's really visually interesting, and even the clone stuff is it's a really cool environment. You go inside, you see all the tubes, which is the payoff for the idea of like the Clone Wars. As every fan in the audience had imagined those vats, regardless of if they had imagined.
Yeah.
Like.
Huh. Yeah, no, that would have made far more sense at the end, just to like contract it and have the Senate decide to do it.
It's really actually kind of funny if you look at all the movies and you did that. You cut out the plot and just look at the action sequences and like the pod race and when you're fighting Darth Maul at the end and the movies are actually really cool.
Sure. Oh no, they're even good. I mean,
the plot's pretty weak. I'll give you that.
The plot, I agree. I'd say this is. Empire,
the development of Anakin and Padme's love interest is horrible, and that's central to the whole story. That is the reason he turns to the dark side at the end.
Yeah,
so
that's his drive. Yeah.
And you're like, and that's horrible. And so that's like establishing everything else, and it's not done well.
Do you think, though, in a weird way, it kind of works because it's so horrible? Like he's just lost from the beginning anyway. Like, he shouldn't feel this way. He's such a doof, and like,
it's just not done well.
It's not.
You bring Anakin in for the beginning of episode 2, and you see that first scene with him where he's in the elevator with Obi-Wan. They're going up to see her. And he's just like, oh, I've been thinking about her ever since she left. He's freaking out about it. You're like, you haven't seen her in 10 years?
Yeah.
And you're going to come at her like, we should go out.
Yeah. Are you an angel?
Since he gets sent to go to her planet anyway and watch her, like, that's a good plot. That's a good plot
that
element.
makes sense, yeah.
But you're like, so they don't have to be in love in that first scene when he walks in the door. They can fall in love while they're hanging out and he's protecting her.
And the countless scenes you're going to give me anyway.
You're going to be with her the whole movie, protecting her, so then that love interest can develop. Yeah. You don't need to come in where he's like all infatuated and ready to jerk off over her and like.
Well, see, that's where you missed the boat because he has two individuals. The male starts off loving her and always has, and it's really those devices later are more about her getting her to fall in love with him.
And like that, oh, Anakin, we can't.
Yeah.
Because I'm a senator and you're a Jedi and blah, blah, blah. Those lines are good. Yeah. It's just she shouldn't be telling them to him because he's all like, oh, but I love you, but I love you, but I love you. Yeah. It should be like,
because she wants
they fall in love together.
Yeah.
They look into each other's eyes and have desire for each other. And their dialogue is all tense with this subtle sexual tension, and then they kiss, and then she's like, oh, but I can't because I'm a senator and you're. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But
and then you can have the same dialogue they have about the discussions about whether they should, but it's that motivation is wrong at the beginning of that film. He shouldn't be thinking about her in the time he's gone. He should be thinking about being a Jedi.
Yeah, exactly.
He should be like, I'm a freaking Jedi now, and I'm awesome. I am the one, and I can sword fight. I'm the shit. And like, hi, Padme. Like, I'm the shit.
Yeah, like that's what the kid would have done.
And she's like, ooh, you're kind of the shit.
Yeah, I feel a little moist.
Yeah. And maybe they're very professional at first, but then he gets sent to watch her. Yeah. You're the Padawan. You go protect her. Obi-Wan's going to go check out these clones. And like, that's great. And then the clone thing stuff is good, but when they went to the planet, it should have been started out like, I'll protect you and we'll go here and I'm the Jedi and blah, blah, blah. And then they should start having that sexual tension. It should build throughout the film, and at the end of the film, they should be like ready to go fuck or whatever.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be like, I mean, you start out with him being infatuated. Within like 10 minutes of him telling her he's infatuated with her, she's like, I'm infatuated with you too, but we just can't.
Yeah.
And you're like, it should be like, I'm so infatuated with you. Oh, but we can't.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
like,
like they should have already had a conversation before that. Like, just like, this isn't right.
Yeah, it should be more of a mutual thing.
Yeah,
it feels too much like he's like a sexual predator.
It does. I'm Chris Hansen. Welcome to this very special edition of Together.
Except for he's younger.
Yeah, we're flipping it this time around. Yeah, Cougar edition.